so that all may prosper. We give thanks for all the ways that you inspire us, your people, for the ways you provide for them and set great paths before them. We are grateful for the many small business owners in our community who felt your creative call and pursued their dreams. Holy One, we know that you are the sustainer of our dreams in prosperity and adversity. We pray for all the businesses supported by the Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce, especially for the leaders and staff of the Chamber and its member businesses. In our prayers, we especially lift up those businesses who suffer hardship because of the economic crisis caused by the pandemic. May we all rally to support each other. Provide for all the people being impacted by this economic adversity, the people employed by those businesses, and the families that are supported by their income. Protect them and all of us, and fill our spirits with hope. Finally, gracious One, grant that we may never forget that our common life depends upon each other's toil. May the work we do this day be dedicated to supporting the community of Fort Lauderdale and one another, that together we may flourish in the spirit of love who gives us life. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mother Leslie. Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
It now gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome my Congressman, Ted Deutsch, to the platform. Ted, are you there?
Yep. Can you see me? Great. Great. Dan, thanks. Thanks so much to you, Dan Lindblade, to everyone at the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber for the invitation to be with you for your 111th annual meeting. It's been a difficult year, to say the least. It's impossible to overstate that as we continue to press through the worst pandemic in a century. Next week will mark 1 year since the first COVID-19 case was confirmed in Florida. Yesterday, we grieved over 500,000 American lives lost since the start of this crisis. Millions more have had difficult battles and hospitalization with the coronavirus. Every American has been affected in so many ways. And since the start of the pandemic, one of the ways that I've tried to help constituents stay updated is through Facebook Live videos. And we've broadcast about 100 updates over Facebook since last spring. And each time, and here's the message I want to share with you, each time I close the update with some of the good news from the week. And in such challenging times, I think it's really important to recognize the things that we're doing to help one another through these challenges. So many of those weekly highlights have been stories of leaders in the business community who have stepped up to help. And so whether you're part of the frontline response or you're helping the helpers, you're making changes in your own operations, as so many of you heroically have, to help keep our community safe, to help keep your employees safe, to help keep the doors open, your contributions to the pandemic response are deeply, deeply appreciated. And I thank you for it. I want to congratulate Bill Feinberg of Allied Kitchen and Bath on the great job he did as chair of the board. And most importantly, I'm glad that Bill is doing better. And the chamber throughout all of this too has been an incredible resource to Fort Lauderdale business leaders as you've worked so hard to adjust to the pandemic, to implement safety protocols, to access relief programs. So thanks to all of you for your excellent leadership, especially you, Bill. I'm looking forward to seeing Chair Stephen Tilbrook of Ackerman as he leads the chamber forward to help continue this good work and you into a strong recovery. And I really want to congratulate all the awardees today. My friend Heiko Dobrik of the Las Olas Company and Riverside Hotel, Bill Walker, Water Taxi, and Julie Medley of ULI South Florida, the Caribbean. Finally, congratulations and thank you to all of the 2021 board members for your work to improve our economy and assist our businesses. This week in Congress, we're focused on rushing additional relief out to Americans who have been out of work and businesses who have lost revenue. Excuse me, the American Rescue Plan includes important funding to help America's economy fully reopen, supporting vaccinations and testing to keep workers and consumers healthy, money to support small businesses and transportation workers, first responders, cities and counties who have been on the front lines for nearly a year and are essential to our economy, the direct cash payments to boost consumer spending and help pay for desperately needed essentials, and then critical funding to help schools and childcare reopen safely all across the country and help parents return to work. I look forward to working closely with all of you as we move through this together, the industries in South Florida in particular that have been so hard hit, working to see us through this in the way that you've been there providing leadership to your companies. I look forward to working ongoing, as I have throughout, as your partner in helping to get through this. I expect to vote for the COVID-19 package this week. I hope that the Senate will send it to the president's desk before March 14th. And as always, it is a pleasure and an honor to represent you. Our office is a resource to you. Never hesitate to reach out. And again, as I have said hundreds and hundreds of times over the past year, I have no doubt that we're going to get through this together. And I've never been as sure of that as I am today, joining with all of you. Thank you so much again for giving me this really terrific opportunity to spend time with you.
Wonderful. Congressman Deutsch, thank you so much. And thank your wonderful staff as well, both here locally and up in DC. They do such a great job and they're so accessible for us. So thank you, Ted, for all that you do.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep, absolutely. We also received a letter from U.S. Senator Marco Rubio this morning. Senator says, and I quote, "Dear friends, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce's annual meeting. I am thankful for your efforts to promote the local business community during these challenging times. The contributions made by the local business community play a vital role in the economy. Your commitment to advancing economic development by working together with local and national leaders helps ensure that the voice of the business community is heard. I'm confident each of you will continue to dedicate your time and talents to assisting local business leaders and in helping make South Florida a great place to live. On behalf of the Florida people, I extend my best wishes to your new leadership and all in attendance today. I look forward to hearing of your continued good work throughout the community in the years to come. Sincerely, Marco Rubio, United States Senator," end quote. As the 12th largest economy by GDP and U.S. 17th largest in the world, we have more to do and many partners with whom we will achieve success. Events like this would not be possible without the assistance of all of our sponsors and contributors. And although they're listed in your program, I'd personally like to thank each and every one of them, one of those business and organizations, for their continued support for our efforts. To start things off, though, representing our presenting sponsor, please welcome Mikhail Sakaris, Chief of Hematology for Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center. Mikhail?
Gee, thank you so much. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be in South Florida. I just came here from bitterly cold Ohio, where I've spent the past 18 years to join the Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center. Our division in hematology treats people who have leukemia, multiple myeloma, lymphoma, and other hematologic conditions. Now, it's not my first time in South Florida. Back in 1976, my grandparents moved from Yonkers, New York, to Century Village in Deerfield Beach, along with all of their friends and family, because that's what people did back then. So I would visit them a couple of times every year, and am proud to claim that I was a major contender in the 7 and under shuffleboard tournament that was often held at Century Village. I actually don't come from a family of doctors. I come from a family of English majors. And in fact, my dad was a political reporter for the Providence Journal in Rhode Island. So I cut my teeth as a page in the Rhode Island State House, and was actually drawn to medicine because I always think of medicine as a form of storytelling, and frankly, to make a difference in people's lives. So I tell stories as a writer in addition to being a doctor, most commonly in the New York Times. I was drawn to the Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center because they were building a hematology and cancer powerhouse, and frankly, I wanted to be part of that. It's a powerhouse that's dedicated to serving the needs of people in South Florida, particularly by making sure that they can receive their care close to home at one of 9 centers we have in the area. Sylvester has been growing by leaps and bounds in terms of the number of doctors and nurses and support personnel that we employ, and also because we've recognized that South Florida is growing and there's a need to provide very specialized care to the special populations that are down here. In fiscal year 2020, we provided 270,000 outpatient visits at one of our centers. We're also a major contributor to the economic betterment of South Florida. Since June of 2018, we've received over 100 grants awarded for over $21 million from a variety of sponsors, including the National Institutes of Health. Now, one of my personal interests is in clinical research and providing new drugs to patients as quickly as they become available. We have over 200 clinical trials that are open in the Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center. And I'm personally proud to have been an investigator on 10 clinical trials that have led to the approval by the FDA of new treatments for cancer. Now, I view that as a particular point of pride because I was able to bring those new cancer drugs to my patients months, sometimes even years before they were widely available in the United States after the FDA approval. So that's something that really differentiates us, I think, from a lot of centers in the country and even in the world that we have access to these new drugs through clinical research. We have over 125 members of the Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center, 40 in hematology alone. So what is it that we can do that's so special? I love to tell the story of one day in clinic when I saw a couple of identical twins who were in their 60s. They had a type of leukemia, and it turns out they had a family history of leukemia. We were able to do the very specialized genetic testing in these gentlemen to find out that they actually shared a common genetic basis for their cancer. But more than that, we were able to identify the fact that they were particularly equipped to be treated with one specific type of drug that made their leukemias better. And we only were able to know that because we did the very specialized genetic testing that we have available in comprehensive cancer centers like Sylvester. We are constantly using our newfound understanding of the genetics of cancer, the very basis for how these cancers arrived, to identify the best therapies for our patients. One of our greatest skills is also in being able to accurately diagnose and stage common cancers and rare cancers. And here's where I have a personal story about this. My mom was diagnosed with lung cancer just a few years ago. And at the time, she was living in New England and went for testing and was told that she had advanced stage lung cancer, stage 3B. The only treatment for something that's that advanced is to give a whopping combination of chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and then if her cancer shrank to all of that, to then offer her surgery. Well, I tried my best to help coordinate this, trying to be a good son and a doctor with my mom from a distance, but it was very hard. So I finally brought her to a comprehensive cancer center. And it was there that they actually discovered that her testing had been completely wrong. It was a bunch of false positives, and she didn't have advanced lung cancer. She had limited lung cancer and just required surgery. That's the sort of story that I actually have told in the New York Times to talk about the need for people coming to specialized comprehensive cancer centers like Sylvester and how it can make an actual tangible difference in those people's lives. I'm happy to report that not only is my mom still alive and well, but I was able to convince her to move to Miami as well. And she's now living in the Brickell district and enjoying it tremendously, just like the rest of us are. So I wanted to thank all of you for the very important work that you do, to tell you what a pleasure it is on behalf of the Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center to sponsor this, and to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I hope you have a good rest of your conference.
Thank you, Dr. Sakaris. It's always great to have Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center as our lead partner for the annual meeting. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And let's thank the other sponsors that we have as partners, our corporate sponsors, Pier 66, Florida Power and Light, Microsoft, and the Realtors of Broward, Palm Beaches, and St. Lucie. Our business sponsors, Daskell Bolton, Fisher Phillips, Business First, Effective, Styles, Galleria, Truist, City of Fort Lauderdale, Riverside Hotel, and the Las Olas Company, Becker, Ackerman, TD Bank, and TLB Enterprises. And of course, our supporting sponsor helping us out on the platform today, LAN Infotech. You know, celebrating 111 years of business means so much. Think of where we were at this point in time compared with 1 year ago. When I think back of what we had to experience over 2020, it just floors me that we even made it through. Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen the worst of times during the last 12 months, and yet there is optimism and abundance among us. Leadership sustains us. Today, we have these past chairs of the board with us, and it's my honor to recognize them now. Bill Feinberg, our immediate past chair, who we're going to hear from shortly. Jim Cassidy, Romney Rogers, also a former City of Fort Lauderdale commissioner. Gary Press, Evan Reese, Charlie Calkins, Mark Budwig, Christine Madsen, Andreas Iwanu, Chuck Moore, Heiko Dobrico, our Terry Stiles South Florida Leader Award winner today, Keith Costello, Juliet Rolak, Suzanne Bogdan, Sydney Calloway, Stephen Moss, and Evan Reese. We stand on the shoulders of these past chairs as they blazed a trail that has made our greater Fort Lauderdale area what it is today. We also have some VIPs with us today. Former Florida Senator Ellen Bogdanoff, Brandy Edelson, assistant to U.S. Congressman Ted Deutsch, and Commissioner Chris Caputo from the City of Fort Lauderdale, and Commissioner Mike Long from Lighthouse Point. Of course, Jack Seiler, our former mayor of the City of Fort Lauderdale, our chair-elect designate. And we have city managers, Chris Lagerbloom from the City of Fort Lauderdale and David Santucci from Deerfield Beach. We now recognize our Legacy Building Chairman Circle members. We congratulate them not only for providing the Chamber with valuable resources, but for having the highest retention rate of any of our investment categories. UHealth and Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center, Riverwalk Fort Lauderdale, Broward Health, Bank of America, Becker, PSAV Presentation Services, Fisher Phillips, the Florida Panthers, the Las Olas Company and the Riverside Hotel, Jolly Rogers Images, Memorial Healthcare System, Nicholas Children's Hospital, Eye on South Florida, Truist, MBAF, Sunshine Health, Amerant, JM Family Enterprises, Galleria at Fort Lauderdale, PNC Bank, FPL, FHE Health, BB&T, now Truist, also known as SunTrust, Styles. Thank you to those Chairman Circle members. We also want to recognize the work of our 2020 Board of Directors. Thank you for your dedication and leadership during the pandemic. I also want to thank the 2020 Board of Directors, that should have said, for your leadership last year, and of course, our 2021 board this year for all you're going to do. But let me take a moment of personal privilege and thank my team for their collaboration and partnership. I honor you with the work you do and value your friendship. That's Carolyn, Denise, Jennifer, Dolores, Mike, Jenny, Maureen, Janet, Jay, and Renee, the best chamber executive team. Now it's my honor to introduce Bill Feinberg, and as he comes to the stage, I want to thank Bill for his commitment, his support, his friendship, and his leadership of the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce in 2020. Bill?
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Dan? Can you hear me?
Good, Bill.
Dan?
Go right ahead.
Okay, good.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's truly an honor to be here and serve as your past chair of the board of the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber. I'm so grateful to be here. First off, as many of you know, I just got through COVID, and I personally want to thank Broward Health, one of our chamber partners, for helping me get through this. They have, really given me such great care under their treatment, and what a great, introduction by Dr. Sakaris. And some of you may or may not know, I'm past chair of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, as I was touched by leukemia in my own family. And it's so great for you to be partnering with our chamber today as well. And thank you for all the great work that you are doing. And Dan, thank you for everything that you do. I mean, what a leader that you truly are. And I want to welcome everyone this afternoon to our annual meeting. I can't believe that a year ago we were at the Signature Grand, and before we found out about COVID. And what a year we've had, and little do we know what we were going to experience. The global pandemic, COVID-19, the social injustices for Blacks and minorities beyond belief, and an all-out war for our presidency. So much more that I can tell you. It's really been quite a year, and nothing that I expected to be taken over as chair of the board. But wow, it's so much that we have done through our chamber, and I'm so thankful for our board and our leadership. And I'd like to just take a moment right now to quiet our hearts and our minds and honor all those that have died and all their families that have been impacted by COVID-19. I believe today we hit over 500,000 people. So if we could just take a moment in prayer and honor those people. Personally, I honestly, sitting in the hospital for a week, didn't know if I was going to make it. And it was the scariest thing I ever went through. And I'm so glad to be here today. As you may be able to hear, my breath is not as strong as I would like it to be, but I'm confident that I'm on the mend and on the rebound. I'm so thankful to everybody. I'll never forget, last March when our CEO, Dan Lindblade, told us we were projecting a $165,000 loss for the year if we did nothing. But our chamber, we jumped into action, and I'm so proud of all that we were able to do last year, especially for our chamber staff. Some of who are no longer here employed to us, some because of staff reductions and Christie, and those who remained and absorbed the pay cuts and performed with such great professionalism and class that we all admire. All of this allowed your chamber to end the year, believe it or not, with a small profit. So thank you to our chamber staff for everything that you do for us. In the middle of all this chaos during 2020, we were able to really accomplish a lot. And I'd like to share some of those highlights with you. We launched a new digital magazine And what a great magazine that it was. And I continue to support it. And I just love the way that came out. We created an evergreen endowment called the Prosperity Fund with proceeds from our sale of the parking lot. From the proceeds of that sale, we paid off the mortgage to our building, which is incredible that what we're doing for the chamber. We approved a historic racial equity agenda. We also created for a Greater Fort Lauderdale Political Issues Fund, which was created. We were the first to market with Zoom and informational webinars and podcasts during COVID. Look at us today on this Zoom, on this Remo platform. You know, when we started last year with all these Zoom meetings, I had no idea where it was going. But through Dan's leadership, we have helped so many small businesses. The backbone of our economy is our small businesses. And through these Zoom meetings, we were to keep so many of us, and I know for myself personally, it's helped me get through this past year from these Zoom meetings that the chamber has created for us. Your chamber was at the table as we developed guidelines with our government for opening our economy. Every week, I saw Dan meeting with our local leaders and reporting to our board of directors of how we can get our economy open. And because of Dan's leadership and our chamber's leadership, look at where we are in Florida. We're probably truly one of the only states that are open like this. And our numbers are pretty good compared to many others. Excuse me, That's My Seat event was produced by the Women's Council. I remember attending that before we were hit with the pandemic. And what a successful event. And my hat's off to all the ladies that continue to work with this event and bring such value to our chamber. Our Council of Economic Advisors have been meeting for 11 years now with the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, working through critical issues about where our economy is headed. And for the past 11 years, we have helped direct and understand what our economy is doing here in South Florida. We merged with our Deerfield Chamber of Commerce, now the Deerfield Council, bringing on 200 additional investors and another chamber executive, Denise Jordan. And we're so glad to have Denise on board and all the members of the Deerfield Council. And of course, with the leadership of Mayor Jack Seiler, our South Florida Business Council has great programming with guest speakers. The Florida House Representative Chris Sprouls and the chairman of the Florida State University System, Sid Kitson. Incredible programs that we're producing, not just here in Broward County, but the whole South Florida region. Our Rising Leaders Soiree, Broward Forward, Business First, Combined Downtowner and Salute to Business virtual event, and Leadership Fort Lauderdale round out just a few of the many programs produced either virtually and a few in person. Our strong mission and our vision has served us well during this past year. You know, there's no doubt that challenges do remain, but I'm confident that 2021 will be an outstanding year, especially with our leadership team moving forward. I thank you for your faith and your trust in me, allowing me to lead our chamber through this past year. I consider all of you part of my family. I thank you all so much. It's truly been an honor and a privilege for me to serve as your chairman during 2020. And before I hand the gavel over to our 2021 chair, Steve Tilbrook, I have one special recognition that I would like to present. And that is the Chair's Award. And that award goes to a professional who went above and beyond in organizing and leading our Regional Transportation Summit. That person is Julie Medley. Julie is president of the Urban Land Institute of South Florida and the Caribbean, and we put something together to honor Julie Medley. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch. Thank you. At this time, I really just can't thank Julie enough. It's been such an honor to work with Julie as the past chair of the board of the Habitat for Humanity of Broward. I work with Julie, and now through the chamber this past year, and with her event that she produced is one of the reasons that we were able to bring the chamber around to a positive year. So without further ado, Julie Medley, congratulations. You are my recipient of the Chair's Award. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Bill. And so glad that you're feeling better. We are very, very happy that you're on the mend. Here's my award here, so you can all see this lovely award. So I just want to thank the Chamber for giving me this special recognition and for trusting me with this important and exciting regional priority from 2020. Very excited to see what the future holds. I just want to thank all of the organizations and the members that were involved in this effort, as well as special shout out to Maureen Miller. Could not have done this without her tireless efforts for this program that we planned and COVID hit, and it's just amazing to see the chamber staff stepping up to the plate and still making it happen. So thank you so much, Bill. Appreciate your leadership and look forward to working with you and the chamber on things in the future. Thank you.
Julie, and congratulations again. Truly an honor to work with such great people, so many great people on our chamber board. Anyway, right now, I'd like to introduce somebody special, a very good friend of mine. It is truly my distinct honor and pleasure to hand the gavel over to Stephen Tilbrook, our 2021 chair of the board. Stephen, I know we're in good hands with you.
Thank you, Bill, and congratulations on a great year. There we go. I think we're not echoing now. Bill, thank you for your kind words and for the outstanding accomplishments and success in 2021. This past year was a very challenging year for the Chamber and for the whole South Florida business community. But through your leadership, the Chamber has emerged stronger and more resilient. And the business community is in the midst of an outstanding recovery. As a small gesture of our thanks, please accept the past chair's plaque. And Bill is accepting the past chair's plaque.
Here I am.
There he is.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Steve. I know that you're going to do a great job for our chamber. And thank you, everybody, for the honor of serving our board of directors.
Great job, Bill. So, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you again, Bill. Good afternoon, and thank you for participating in this year's annual meeting. Thanks in particular to our sponsors and to all the business leaders who support the Chamber. I look forward to serving as your Chamber Board Chair for 2021, and I'll be brief. And I look forward to working with our outstanding partners in the business community. We will face several challenges this year, but through our common purpose, we will prevail. The goals for this year, as outlined by our executive committee, are threefold. First, to foster a robust economic recovery as we emerge from the pandemic and economic downturn. Second, to amplify the collective voice of the business community of Greater Fort Lauderdale and the region. And third, to support the growth and success of our member businesses. These are awesome goals, and we can accomplish these goals. And beyond this, we are committed to making a marked difference through our new Racial Equity Council. The time for action is now, and the Racial Equity Council will provide us with direction and results moving forward. Lastly, we will bring a delegation of business leaders to Washington this year in the fall to work on the important issues with the Washington Summit 2021 presented by FPL. Through the hard work of all of our members, our councils, and our committees, I know that we will quickly reestablish the Greater Fort Lauderdale region as the gateway for domestic international commerce and a center for economic collaboration. I ask all of you to recommit to our mission and vision and to join us on the journey to economic recovery. Thank you for the opportunity to lead this great organization. And Dan, I hand it back to you for the rest of the program.
Thanks, Steve. I'm looking forward to working with you this year in the board. I know we're going to do a lot of great things together. So congratulations on your chairmanship.
Thank you.
Our executive committee established our next award as a tribute to the tireless professionalism of our executive vice president, Carolyn Michaels, IOM. Let's view this video and learn more. Ladies and gentlemen, our Carolyn M. Michaels Leadership Award recipient, Bill Walker.
And I have the honored Maple Leaf, the Carolyn Michaels Award, and what an inspiration and honor. Carolyn sent me the list of the past recipients, and truly remarkable. I love working with the Chamber. I love working with all of you, with the city, Chamber, the county. You guys really are an inspiration for me to get up and get going every day. Thank you for the kind words. And Carolyn, you're in my heart, you're in my head, and on we go. Thank you.
Congratulations, Bill. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, we have two things left on our schedule this afternoon. Our final award, and then we'll go to Jackie to talk to her. But our final award is our Terry Stiles South Florida Leadership Award. And our recipient this year is a good friend of mine, Heiko Dobriko. You've seen it all out there. And I want to just say that this guy really symbolizes everything about leadership, about what it means to be a leader in South Florida. So I want to go ahead and roll with that video, please, Mike. I've got to turn my mic on. Welcome, Heiko Dobriko. Congratulations, Heiko.
Dan, can you hear me?
I got you.
Charlie, I don't know how I got this thing in my hand, but thank you so much. This is just incredible. I mean, the eagle has landed. First of all, Ken, your dad was somebody special. And I know he's up in heaven right now and he's looking down and he's smiling. He's smiling at the Stiles Corporation and your leadership, what you're doing for this community. And you're amazing. And I appreciate this. And I accept this award in the honor of your father's name, who is a man that really created legacy. You know, when I think of Terry is just one of those folks that was just a brave titan. Terry was a guy that had just bold vision. And what I loved about Terry was just the aspect of being a servant leader for not only this little community of Fort Lauderdale, but for South Florida and for the greater good of all. I want to thank the previous recipients as well. Dan Lindblade, you got this award the first time, and Dan, my friend, I've learned a lot from you. You're just a special person. And fellow chamber members, let me tell you, we are blessed by the leadership of a Dan Lindblade that just doesn't stop. Jack Seiler, when I came in this community, I was just hanging on to your coattail. And that you were the next recipient of this award because you are the epitome of teaching people how to build community through positivity. You're just amazing. James Donnelly, you were the next one that received this award. And James, what you did in your leadership with the Broward Workshop, and then spread your wings all over South Florida and created just an amazing movement, was just incredible. Charlie, you were the next recipient. You were the last recipient of this award. And I can tell you that your leadership as the chairman for the Florida Chamber was so welcomed. We needed somebody like you up there. We needed somebody that takes the bull by the horn and makes it happen. We needed somebody that is an influencer and does the right things right. So thank you to all the previous recipients of this award, and I accept this award with all my heart. But I want to thank the chamber in itself. Dan Lindblade, Carolyn Michaels, Denise Jordan and staff. I want to tell you, you're all in my heart. I love you guys. I think you're just amazing people. Bill Feinberg, your leadership was much needed during these tough times. It took a small business owner to lead us through this because we knew that we had a chairman that would roll up his sleeves and get his hands dirty and get to work. Stephen Tilbrook, we will be by your side. Melissa, guess what? You start planning now because next year when you're going to be the chair, that's just around the corner. And Jack, you will just leave another legacy behind as our following chair. My fellow executive committee members and board members, thank you for being selfless servants. And always remember how Carolyn brands this, ROI for us. It's the return of the involvement. You know, when I look at this award, I really think about the hard work that this chamber has done in order to spread its wings in South Florida. And in 2015, we started talking, 2016, we started walking, and 2017, we put it in place, the South Florida Business Council. And it was great to work with my counterparts down in Miami, Christina Barney, and up in Palm Beach, Joe Chase, in order to develop this great organization called the South Florida Business Council. And, you know, we rather quickly figured out what's going to be important for our region. Well, tourism is one of them. We created the tourism embassy. Housing is the next one, because if we really want to prosper as a community, we got to challenge ourselves and really work on the workforce housing aspect of our region, because somebody's got to support all of us and our community. Education is the #1 driver of economic development, and having great economic development through education is important, and constantly focusing with our great school systems and our universities will be profound. You know, we've talked about it. One thing that was great about the pandemic, there was no traffic. But guess what? Traffic is back, and we got to work on mobility. So when we developed the advocacy on the mobility embassy and started working with transportation, that is going to be important. However, at the end of the day, we need to remain resilient. And, you know, sea level rise is happening. And we need to really focus on our water quality, because the water management for our communities is a good sign of good life. I want to thank the Broward County Tourism Coalition Council for their weekly engagement in helping this battered industry that we are currently in. And in particular, I want to thank my co-chairs, Tim Petrillo and Aina Lee. Now, for me, being able to do a little aspect in our community, it takes a great company to work for. And I couldn't be more proud and humble to work for the Las Olas Company and the Riverside Hotel. Barbara Wells is the owner and its shareholders. Thank you for putting the trust in us, in working for you, and helping you still be engaged and be a cornerstone in this community. The leadership team, Mike Weymouth, you're just a force to be reckoned with. You're just a great guy, and I couldn't be happier working with you through thick and through thin. And right now we're in the thick of things, and we're going to get through this. Diane D'Angelo, our CFO, you are just an amazing leader in yourself, and it's great to have a CFO that gets it and understands operation, and it's just coattailing with us along the side and making it happen. And then Pam Zirkel, what you have done with Las Olas Boulevard and our tenants and making it so vibrant, you are the lifeline to success for us. And of course, my division heads and our team members are so important. But, you know, everybody needs rocks in their life. And I have two very significant rocks in my life. One rock is my lovely wife that lets me do and allows me to spend a lot of time in these communities and helping out. And my mom, you know, this kid here that grew up in a community of 603 inhabitants in Germany, made something out of himself and is proud to always get engaged. So I just want to close right now. And I want to give you a leadership quote from somebody that I admire, that I've followed a long time, which is Robert Greenleaf, who is the founder of the modern servant leadership movement. The first and most important choice a leader makes is the choice to serve, without which one's capacity to lead is severely limited. Folks, members, as we are executing our regional recovery, I hope all chamber members will engage and leave a positive mark. Go ahead, folks. Spread your wings, soar like an eagle, lead by serving others first. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Congratulations, Heiko. Nice speech.
Thank
Very,
you.
very well done. Very well done. So, ladies and gentlemen, it now gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome Jackie Wright, Chief Digital Officer of Microsoft US, to the platform with me. We're going to have a fireside chat. We're going to talk a little bit about Jackie's vision for South Florida and our relationship with the Chamber. And, you know, when I first met Jackie, I was introduced to her by our business development executive, Jenny DeBorgia, and Jackie's team. And what made me smile was when she told me that about one of the things, many things that her career has pathways has taken, one of which was that she's on the board of governors for Kensington Palace. And I thought, who gets on the board for Kensington Palace? But that was so cool. I said, I got to get to know her better. So I asked her to be our keynote speaker for the annual meeting. She accepted. So welcome, Jackie, to the platform.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having me. And I just want to first start out by congratulating the Chamber and the community for all that you are doing in this community. You know, just listening to this, congratulations to the award winners, to Bill, and glad to see, Bill, that you are recovering. And then clearly, I have to go see Heiko, as everyone has clearly stated. Just the great work that you're all doing, it is just really powerful and really inspiring.
But Jackie, let's get to it now. We had a little brief session with a VIP reception before this meeting. You know, last year and still into this year, it's been a real difficult time for everyone. But I'm sure at a corporation like Microsoft and in the position that you're in as its chief digital officer, you've had to make some shifts too. Tell us about your experience of late.
Yeah, and you know, I would be remiss if I didn't say somewhat fatigued, right? Living in this virtual first world where the lines between your personal and professional life have just become blurred. For me, it's been challenging. It's been really, I've had to go through many things with my teams, but we've also seen a lot of change. Right? I mean, we've gone through things in terms of how we become resilient, adaptive, and flexible. We've seen our supply chains disrupted. We've seen digital transformation accelerate in a way we would have never imagined a little over a year ago. I mean, telehealth and telemedicine, the ability for people to get access remotely, we've accelerated that because we had to. Collaboration and collaborating globally. We've had to do that. You know, Michael talks about clinical trials. Just think about how we've been able to do that on a global scale to then be able to then bring to bear the vaccines that we need to have today. And when you think about the social unrest that we've had and how that has taken a whole new national global platform, it's just been truly transformational. What technology and digital has done and how it's brought to the forefront the things we really need to focus on. And at the same time, it's also highlighted the inequities that we have in our society between the haves and have-not, and how we need to create a level playing field for all. So, you know, those are the things that are on my mind. You know, the one other one that, you know, that has also come to bear is this social purpose, this moral compass about who we are as a society, the things we need to do and living with purpose. And hopefully, you know, we're changing the trajectory of who we are as a society.
Well said. One of the things that Bill brought up in his notes today, as his comments today, was, you know, what happened last year was more than just the pandemic. There were so many cataclysmic, it seemed, every turn we came to, there was something else happening. Back in my hometown of Minneapolis, George Floyd was murdered on streets I walked as a young boy. And I thought we had to do something. So we created a racial equity agenda that you and I have had a chance to talk about at the Chamber. But you had a quote I found, and I'm going to read it, and then I'd like you to kind of comment about it. It says, "You cannot innovate if you do not have diversity of thought, diversity of experience, and perspectives. Leaders need to cultivate an inclusive environment so we can innovate and solve the world's problems." I mean, that really spoke to me. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about who we are as a society, we're diverse in many different ways. And when you think about solving the world's problems, you can't do that unless you have diversity that brings all the different aspects of life together. And so, you know, this notion of having a diverse and inclusive team where you come from different walks of life, ethnicity, backgrounds, thoughts, all of those things help us solve the world's problems. I mean, in remote locations in the world, we need to solve the problems there. We have our own sustainability and climate issues here, but this is it's not an isolated phenomena. It's a global phenomena. And then you have to understand how one element of it impacts the rest of the world. And so having this notion of this inclusive concept where you bring different ideas to the table, different people to the table, so that we can innovate and solve the world's problems. That's at the heart and core of everything we do.
Well said. And we brought together our racial equity agenda. I think it was approved back in October, after hours and hours of discussion and trying to figure out exactly what our lane was going to be in this process. And I learned so much in that process. But one of the things I learned that I was floored was what we call this digital divide. And you've spent a lot of time working on that, researching that. Talk to us about the digital divide.
It starts with equity. And when you think about equal access to education, equal access to healthcare, to housing, when you think about equal access, the digital divide is no different. That disparity starts early on. And if you don't have access to the right type of education, access to technology, how you can use it, be fully aware of it, that inequity just gets bigger and bigger. And so, at Microsoft, I think I'm honored and blessed to be able to use Microsoft as a platform to be able to bridge this digital divide. We focused on a few key things, and I want to start by talking about our racial inequity plan. So one is about how we create a level playing field within our company. And then the second is really about within our supply chain and our communities, how do we ensure that equity is core in terms of everything we do? And then the third thing is, what are we doing with our communities? And the one area that we've really launched and really focused on is skilling. Bridging this divide starts, again, table stakes basics with how you skill and how people really have access and the right skills to this. And so, you've brought up my slide, which really talks about providing the right digital skills needed to really better and improve how people get access to all the things that they need to do so that we can have economic mobility and economic prosperity, which is at the heart of everything we do. If you go to the next slide briefly.
Mike, can you advance that? Mike's in control of our screen, so he's listening to us. And Mike, if you can advance that, there you go.
All right. So what we've really done is we've gone big in terms of really announcing that we want to skill 25 million people. And how do we do that? And we want to do that in a systemic way so that we can focus on making sure that people can be upskilled, reskilled. They have opportunities where they never had before. I mean, in every industry, there's technology. So every company is going to be a technology company in some way, shape, or form. And so everybody needs to have those skills. And so what we've started to do is launch this national program of skilling and digital fluency. We are going to launch this in the South Florida area, Miami-Dade, Broward County, and Palm Beach. And this is really about, if you look at what I have here in terms of the target cities, the target number expected to be skilled, and then how we're going to do that. This skill shortage that we will have through the recovery. And as we come out of the recovery, the ability for folks to be part of this recovery hinges on skilling. And so there's going to be a keen focus here in the areas that have been outlined. And I'm really excited to announce that South Florida, my hometown now, is a community that we really believe we really need to focus on.
Well, the Chamber is thrilled that we're going to be partnering with Microsoft and you on this. And as you know, I've been introducing you around to key stakeholders in the region so that we can make sure we have all the right players at the table and bring all the market forces to bear. As it relates to, we have the highest childhood poverty rating here in the Broward County area. And one of the things that we've been talking about is this prosperity, breaking the cycle of poverty that we have here in the state. Because our belief as a chamber organization is that if you can break that cycle and get them to help themselves and help each other, then it's just going to make for a better economy for all. So how do you see, outside of the skilling, how long will this take, and how can corporations and other businesses get involved?
Yeah, and I'd like to go to the next chart to just give you this concept and this notion of an ecosystem. So Mike, if you could go to the next chart. this is an example of when you look at how can everyone participate? And I'll use the skilling one to bring it to life, and then we can talk about it more broadly. You look at what we have as our learning partners, which are using small and medium businesses, learning partners where we're bringing them in as part of the community. You look at our corporate partners who, one, are not just investing, but also committing to hiring as part of the solution, which then creates this whole community of leadership. And then we have these leadership partners, which may be the chamber, such as yourself, Broward College, which we've started to talk to. I mean, really creating a whole ecosystem in moving forward the prosperity relative to skilling. And the same goes whether it be healthcare, whether it be education, whether it be housing. How do you create that ecosystem where everyone, people who have power and influence, can really change the trajectory of a society by committing, investing, and providing part of the environment and foundation to move forward? And so, it is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight, but just knowing that partnering together, having a social purpose and a mission around improving the lives of everyone so that everyone can thrive, this prosperity that you speak about, Dan, and this whole notion of economic mobility, that is at the heart of, my moral social purpose. And I think it should be everyone's. And as we look at what we need to do coming out of this pandemic and all the things that have occurred with social justice and unrest, what is your moral compass, and what do you want to do to help improve the lives and outcomes of society, of citizens everywhere?
So this moral compass notion, it's come up a couple of times today in other people's comments as well. What's your dash? All of that we talked about in the previous session. What drives you? I kind of talked about it in the VIP session, and you had mentioned other people's stories. Explain that a little for the group today.
Yeah, we had a great discussion, and I kind of touched on my story, right? A woman of color who's been in technology when technology never even recognized that women could partake, let alone people of color. And that story has shaped who I am. That journey, the challenges and opportunities have shaped who I am. And everyone has a story. And unless you become totally immersed in other folks' stories, how else can you understand what it's like to be someone from a different socioeconomic environment, for someone who is ethnically different from you and the challenges they may face, for someone who lives in a remote part of the world who has, we talk about first world and third world problems, their problems relative to your problems. How best can you do that if you don't understand people's stories? And so, where I get my power and energy from is really going out and understanding the stories of individuals, understanding their perspectives, and bringing that to the forefront that says, again, what my moral compass, how can I help understanding those stories? And really, again, it really is about what my dash is and what will that be? In terms of improving the lives of citizens. So that is really about the trajectory of a whole society, right? And so I ask everybody, what is your moral compass and how do you get that and live with purpose?
Thank you. Now let's switch gears for just a second and talk about your kind of sabbatical, I'll call it. It wasn't really a sabbatical because you were working the whole time, but talk to us about working for Your Majesty and what that entailed with Brexit.
Yeah, so I went to work for the government, got a call and went to work for the UK government because, again, living with purpose, I was like, how can I change the outcome of a society? And what better way to do that than being in the heart of government? And so I went back to the UK and really immersed myself in how government works, the challenges of government, how we affect policy, the role we play as a government entity, how society is changing. I learned so much, in a microcosm of what is a bigger challenge in every government in the world. And then what are the things we need to do to make sure, again, this gets back to equity. How do we improve the prosperity, the mobility and outcomes of citizens with government at the core and the partnerships with private and public corporations and industries. So I learned a great amount, and even having discussions with leaders in government about, as an individual, as a person who is not, a person who's of color, here are the things you need to think about. Here's what it means, and just playing my role as I believe each and every one of us can. You're on mute, Dan.
There we go. I thought I clicked it off. There's one other quote that I wanted to ask you about, and I think it relates to, and I know it relates to leadership, but all of us are kind of trying to do the best we can through this pandemic. But this really spoke to me, and I'd like you to just kind of talk about it and maybe give us some examples if you could. You said, quote, "The world is a place that changes rapidly. Your ability to try to anticipate, to see around the corners in terms of things that could occur, those are the crown jewels."
They absolutely are. And, as a technologist, whether we want to believe it or not, the ability to use technology to help predict the things that could occur. I mean, let's just think about it, right? This pandemic, if anyone had asked any one of us a year ago if we knew that this was going to be at the scale, how many of us would have said, oh, absolutely, we know? Very few. But your ability to understand and anticipate, again, hinges on globally understanding the world and the effects on the world, how the impact of climate change affects the other side of the world, the global nature of the things we do. And using that and using data to inform us helps us then be able to better anticipate. I mean, we'll never be able to anticipate everything, but using data to inform us, to anticipate the problems that may occur or the opportunities and the things that we need to take into consideration. What better way to do that but using data and technology at the core? I mean, Heiko talked about water and, water and what's happening with water. There are some innovative things coming out in terms of water usage, in terms of how we analyze our water usage in the nature more globally. Let's use the power of that to solve the world's problems, the social problems that, again, living with purpose is all about.
Well said. You get me so fired up with your inspirational speak and all the things that you want to accomplish. And I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, me either. I can't wait to meet you either, Dan.
Yeah. So soon we'll be able to meet in person, and we'll be able to work and marshal resources and really take all the ideas together collectively to move our region forward. I just thank you and Microsoft so much for all you're doing for our world and for what you're doing here in South Florida and what you have yet to do. So thank you again for being our keynote speaker today.
Thank you, and I look forward to working with you and everyone in the South Florida community. Thanks again.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our 111th annual meeting. Presented by Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center. I want to thank all of you for attending today. I wish you all a great rest of the week and a great 2021.